There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Shawn the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with, I don't think it's a review, just some a hot take, some thoughts about 30 minutes after I finished reading Sally Rooney's Normal People. I know you've all read it or bailed on it or decided you hate it and will never read it, but I finally, in the spring of 2020, got to this novel. Published in 2018, nominated for all kinds of prizes, lots of buzz about it, lots of acrimony about it, lots of hate for it. So, the only reason I'm doing this is because, a little bit of a drama queen. I have been keeping my subscribers in suspense. If they were following me on Goodreads, my subscribers or bookish friends knew that I hadn't bailed on it, but otherwise I was keeping everyone in suspense, and here I finally am. So, some background is Rooney's 2017 debut novel, Conversations with Friends, was a bail for me, an early bail. I tried it on audio, I didn't get along with it, I bailed. In my early days on BookTube, about 2.5, 3 years ago, something like that. And then when Normal People came out, I really wasn't interested because I'm kind of one and done kind of guy. If I don't like one book by a writer, I will never try them again. That's been my modus operandi forever. But I decided to give Sally Rooney another chance. And actually, her second chance was this short story that was published as part of the Faber stories that Doris and I have been reviewing. And this was an excellent 5-star story. So I was really surprised when I had that superlative reaction to it last year and thought, okay, well, I have to try Normal People, especially because Adam threatened to unfriend me, or that I should unfriend him if I ended up liking it. So I read this as part of Memento Moriathon, a book that Adam hated, and have now read it. So, can I stretch the suspense out any longer? No, maybe not. I absolutely loved it. It was a 5-star read. It was one of the most moving books I've read this year, probably the most emotionally compelling and poignant that I've read in 2020. And I just finished it 30 minutes ago, and I think my voice won't break and I'm not going to cry, but I loved it. I thought it was a powerful novel about two young, screwed up Irish kids. They're high school students at the beginning, and we followed them for, 5 years into their mid to late 20s. And there's sexual attraction and friendship and all kinds of misunderstandings, miscommunications, and all kinds of partings and reconciliations. It rang so true to life, and it was the complete antithesis of a romance novel. It was not a romance novel. Romance novels suck. Sorry, cousin. I can't remember the last novel that I read that was so focused on one relationship, and a hard-to-pin-down relationship. It was kind of like boyfriends and girlfriends, but not really, and that was what made this a really rich reading experience. I was sucked in within the first couple chapters, and by the end I was just a wreck. I'm not going to give you a formal review. I'm not going to give you everybody knows what this book's about, and now there's a TV series which I'm dying to see. It has been a hot minute since I read Edith Wharton, but this novel reminded me of Edith Wharton in the perceptive, subtle way that it explored class difference and the relationship of money to friendship and to romantic love. I thought that was one of the strongest aspects of the book. I loved the way that was explored, and again, it was done so nimbly. But for me, what made this an enthusiastic, passionate 5-star read was the way that it explored human connection. Better than I can't think of a novel right now, but I'm sure there must be some that do it as well. But Sally Rooney is a magician at exploring the delicate, tender ways that connections can be shattered and formed and rebroken and reformed. And the writing is deceptively simple, but it shows the complicatedness of the relationship between these two, Marianne and Connell, throughout their young lives in a way that it was indelible. Especially Connell. Connell is probably one of my favorite male characters in anything I've read in a long time. I think you're going to be hearing about him probably at the end of the year for my besties and worsties. But both of them, I loved them. She made me love them. The characters jumped off the page. They were so unique, but there was something about their foibles and fumbling grasps of one another and letting goes of one another that just reminded me of my life at that age and everybody I know and people of any generation. It was profound. It was also very much of its time, and I thought better than any novel that's been written in the last decade. Captured the youth of today, can I say that? And as a gay man, I thought maybe I related to it more than other people of my generation. I just thought the almost impossible puzzle of trying to sort out sexual lust from other emotions and romantic mores, all of that was just brilliant. And again, when I say brilliant, I'm not talking about intellectual. I'm talking about the emotional brilliance of this novel and the way this story unfolded. I was blown away by it. It's not the best book I've ever read, but it is an excellent book. She's 29 years old. She wrote it 2 years ago. I can't wait to see what's in her future, and I will revisit Conversations with Friends at some point too, but I'm more eager to see what she does next in the future, because this was a stunning novel. And if you're hearing about it from me for the first time, please give it a try. They had their own fucked upnesses, Connell and Marianne, that made them very unique, but they were very normal people. These gymnastic, emotional knots that they tied up and tried to untie and did it again and again, that seemed like very normal human relationships to me. Hey, well, I've moved locations and screw it. I just wanted to add a couple things. So, more about the sexuality. It was a very sexy book, and it made me think of Brian of Bookish's Sex and Literature tag. I'll put a link to his tag and to my response, because I was pretty anti-sex writing at the time, and I thought that the sex writing here was not overdone, throbbing with meaning, if I can say it that way, and it made me fall deeply in lust and love with Connell. But I thought it explored sexuality between two people and the various ways that sexuality can morph and manifest and get expressed or get spoiled, get ruined between people really, really well. And as a gay man, I really appreciated that, because sex something that when I was these people's age, and up until a very few years ago, I was completely confused about these kind of issues and how to friends with benefits. We have a much stronger term for it in the gay community. Can they work? Do they work? How do you maintain them? How do you nurture them? I thought that was so well done here. I'm not going to read you an excerpt, but I was going to read you the one from September 2012, page 120, but I'm not going to read it because most of you have the book, or you're never going to read the book or whatever. But just to get at more of that, the way that the writing gets underneath and reveals layers and upon layers of the characters in just a few deft strokes. So this is where Connell is meeting Marianne back in their hometown. It's Carrie Lee, I think. They have not met for about 6 weeks, and it's very awkward. And one of the things that's really awkward for Connell is they have never really met in public. It's the first time they've ever met at a coffee shop. He's a few minutes late. So we're in Connell's head, and this is his observation. Although he takes pleasure, because Marianne doesn't look her best, although he takes pleasure in seeing her look good, he feels a special sympathy for her when she looks ill or her skin is bad. Like when someone who's usually very good at sports has a poor game. There's a political protest, that's what made him late, and he says kind of flippantly to her, "There are worse things than getting beaten up." And then this sentence, Marianne is taking a sip of coffee when he says this, and she seems to pause for a moment with the cup at her lips. He can't tell how he identifies this pause as distinct from the natural motion of her drinking, but he sees it. Now, those kind of just small things that just made this an absolute joy to read and made me experience the story and the characters on such a deep level. Just a beautiful book. I would say the one thing that I thought showed the weakness of a young writer was there was some political literary opinions put into especially the mouth or the thoughts of Connell that were obviously more Sally Rooney's opinions and kind of stuck out a bit, like trying to shoehorn that into her book. But that was like a page and a half of a very, very satisfying 246-page novel. I loved it. It's a beautiful book. Put me in the Sally Rooney camp. Thanks for watching.